Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the live stream. We are back with another great conversation for Ms. Wheelchair America, presented by the Mary Free Bed Guild. We are in the center of the competition. It is heating things up. Just so excited to be here, and we are finally wrapping up with all of our contestants. This is the last three we haven't had a chance to talk to, so really excited to talk with them and get their perspective because we're right in the middle of the competition. It's been the second day of workshops, and the finals night is happening tomorrow night. So let's go around the circle. We've got Brittany from our marketing team joining me again in the conversation, and let's hear from all the ladies. Kimberly, if you can start, just tell me where you're from and which state you represent.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Butler. I am from Hattiesburg, and I am representing the great state of Mississippi.
Awesome. And Stacy?
Hi, my name is Stacey Johnson. I'm residing in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm representing North Dakota.
North Dakota. And then Allie.
Yeah, my name is Allie Corbin. I am currently living in Santa Barbara, California, but I grew up in the Valley there, and I am representing California.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for taking the time after a busy day to talk with us. Brittany, you want to start with our first question for the ladies?
Yeah, let's talk about just what the week has been like maybe so far for you. I know you were all counting down to this for quite some time. So any highlights or things that you've enjoyed so far?
I really enjoy meeting all of these wonderful ladies in person. And it's one thing to have Zoom calls and then have phone calls, but to meet them in person and see how vibrant they all are and how warm and welcoming they are, it truly is a sisterhood. So I'm really appreciative of that. That's been the highlight of the entire time, just being here and getting to know all these wonderful ladies.
I don't know what to say. I feel like a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, it's probably not. That's probably just like a front, but it's really not. Like every single one of the women that I've met has just absolutely touched me to the bottom of my heart and shown me that like no matter what you hear behind closed doors of like, oh, this person is saying XYZ and oh, well, you're not gonna like her, just throw it all out the window, make your own opinions, because if you know, anyone watching this chooses to compete, I mean, you're just gonna find an absolute sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
Stacey, how about you?
I've truly enjoyed being in a safe place with multiple women that have similar experiences, and even if they were born with their disability, they still have an understanding and a mental headspace of caring for me and giving me insight as I am not maybe as progressed in having an injury more recently. And it's just been a real safe place that I've learned so much, and I will take that home with me. And of course my son has learned so much how to be accepting and understanding everybody here.
You hear that, and you kind of spoke to that, Allie, where everybody comes together and then they leave as like a sisterhood. You're coming with one platform, but then you're taking and you're leaving with another like 18. So it's really great. Kimberly, do you maybe want to share a little bit too? You know, Stacey was just saying how it's, you know, she's new to using a wheelchair. Can you walk us through like the reasons why you use a chair and, you know, what you're kind of talking about with that?
Okay, sure. I use a manual wheelchair because I became injured in '92. I was 12 years old as a result of a motor vehicle accident. Sorry about that. But my spinal cord was completely severed. My injury level is T5, T6, and I have used a manual wheelchair for over 30 years. I've gone to college. I've got my master's degree. I've had 2 children. So, yeah, I've been living my life like it's golden the whole time. Of course, there have been challenges, but I have a super supportive family, and then meeting women like this along the way. It's been a reasonably understandable, great experience with the ties and lows, but this is definitely a high.
Yeah.
This is definitely a high.
That's great.
Yeah.
Stacey, you mentioned just the beginning of your story.
Yeah, so in 2023, my journey began when I was involved in a motorcycle accident, and I severed C4 to T2. And with that, I'm learning a lot from these ladies on their journeys and how things are possible, even if you don't think they are, and the fact that, you know, being isolated, you don't get a lot of this, and this is just a great learning experience for any women and anyone even in my area, that, you know, you can come out and meet these wonderful ladies and experience great things.
That's incredible. Allie, what about you?
Oh gosh, my road to a chair is much more complex, and we don't have to dive all the way in, but I always say I'm somewhere strangely in the middle of being born with a disability and acquiring a disability. So I do live both of those experiences, but I also live awkwardly in the middle. And I think that, like, if I get nothing out of this week other than this message, like, even that would mean a lot to me. And it has nothing to do with my platform, is that, like, if you're hoping and wishing, like, oh gosh, it would be so much easier if I had a wheelchair, then you probably need a wheelchair. And that was a huge thing for me when I realized, like, oh, okay, I am disabled, and that's not a bad thing to say. I was born with a disability that was under-researched and nobody knew that it existed, so I was gaslit my entire life into saying, oh, your labs are fine, your physical's fine, your cognitive function is beyond fine, so nothing's wrong with you. And it got chalked up to mental health for, my gosh, up until 5 years ago, when I almost decapitated myself under a sign on the freeway because I was falling asleep at the wheel. And I've been doing that since I got my driver's license, and I just thought that that was normal. So having micro sleeps, they'd last anywhere from a microsecond to, maximum of 5 seconds, and my eyes were open, and I was still singing the song that was on the radio when I'd come to. But I also have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is now becoming much more widely known about, which I'm super grateful for. But I think the biggest misconception that we have with that right now is that it's just one face, right? It's like we just talk about the hypermobile type, and that's the most commonly diagnosed but the least researched. But I am blessed to have the genetic lottery. I have all kinds of different markers that sprinkled throughout EDS. So I'm a carrier for dermatose peroxis Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is like, have you ever seen the gal who is like Pacific Islander, super sagging skin in magazines? She's someone who has that. And then the periodontal Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which creates like a doughy skin texture. So it's just like, no doctor really knows what to do with me.
Yeah.
And then I sustained a TBI last year, which is why I am now full-time wheelchair user outside of my home. But I can walk. Can I? Yeah. Should I? No. So in a zombie apocalypse, I'll probably ditch the chair and, find my lane so I can help them. But other than that, it's just not safe for me. So I think that we have to break that stigma.
And speaking of stigma, you all obviously know the challenges that come with using a wheelchair, and that's a big part of the reason why you're here, because you are advocating for other people with disabilities. Can you talk about your platforms and what you hope to change in the disability community? Kimberly, we can start with you.
Sure. My platform is universal design, creating access to dignity, inclusion, and equity. And the reason why I chose that platform is because most people say that home is where the heart is, and that's actually where everything starts for us. But unfortunately, for 64 million people that live with a disability, sometimes their home is actually a prison because of the laws and legislations that we have that are supposed to help maintain those rights and freedoms so that we can have accessible home spaces, and even at this great hotel that we're staying in now. But unfortunately, with things being kind of rolled back, we need to make sure that we can counter those actions, because we all deserve a life full of freedom and our rights and liberties to pursue happiness to remain intact. So that's why I chose the platform, because we all deserve access at home, at our jobs, at just out in recreation, going to malls. We need those things to be looked at and maintained because inflation is a growing thing. So a lot of these laws and regulations that I'm bringing up, they haven't been changed in years. And why is that? So we need to review that and make sure that we're maintaining and sustaining things that people could, progress.
Yeah, it's great that you're in the position to start doing that in Mississippi and hopefully take that across the nation too.
I hope to stay connected with all the ladies and help them with their platform so that we can build and grow things together, because everybody needs help everywhere.
And Stacey, can you talk a little bit about your advocacy work?
Yeah, and okay, so my advocacy work, it kind of stems from my personal experience. When I was in rehab from my injury, you have access to a lot of resources and mental health. And when I was to return home, I live in a rural area that does not have access to a lot of these things. There are definitely things that I learned from having great access, and I had a really great rehabilitation program. And going home, there's just not such thing. And I know there are people like me where I live and where I'm from that do not have the access to these resources, and they do not know they exist. They do not know that they can obtain these things. I kind of piggybacks off of what Kimberly was saying. I don't want my home to be a prison either. So my advocacy work has been getting out there and allowing people to know that, we do need to change as a whole, that people need to see us, and it's not just, sorry, I lost it there. And that there are things that we can do together. I've partnered with one of the nonprofits back home, and I believe that.
It's okay.
That's right.
Awareness is huge, and it sounds like you're trying to get that awareness out there and make it accessible for everyone who needs it.
It's amazing that she says that because I don't think people realize how rural the United States really is because we have a lot of rural areas in the state of Mississippi. Like if you go north, our capital it really is rural, and that's really sad to say that there has been no progress like in those areas because people have to come out of those areas to get the services they need because some of the services don't extend into their counties. So I think what she's doing is amazing.
Yeah.
And even when they are available, it's not that they're, equipped to handle disabilities of any kind, let alone mobility impaired disabilities. I mean, how do you even get that care to the right people when you're in the rural areas? I grew up in Central California, and when everyone hears the word California, you're like, oh, well, you have all kinds of doctors in California, and then people forget how big California is.
Yeah.
It's like getting there. So every single time I needed to go to a doctor's appointment, I was driving a minimum of 4 hours, and then how do you afford the gas and the food and the hotel and, all of these different things? So, I mean, it's just... yeah, very widespread, and I love that you're doing what you're doing. I'm just like super grateful to have someone here with a platform that's mental health because it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I did something at 18 about mental health because we had several kids in our high school commit suicide. And it was just like this major thing where we all had this like eye-opening moment of, oh, okay, like this is a universal experience. And, it was the kids, like, for example, one of the kids in my school that had passed, he was the happiest you'd ever meet. He was the kindest to everyone around him, and he went out of his way to make sure no one felt alone. No one knew that he was the one that felt the most alone. I think that like transfers over so much to disability, and talking about like your home being a prison, for goodness sake. Like when I first became disabled, it's nowhere near what these women went through and the impact of like how it happened in like snap of a finger. And so not as many people knew that I needed help. I'm also very outspoken, and I've had a lot of people say that too. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so loud though. Like, how do people not know? And I think whenever you see someone who's independent and has fire behind what they're saying, you don't think that they need any help. And that's like, check on your friends that feel like they have it all together, because you truly just never know.
Yeah.
That really leads into your platform, mental health, and you accessing, recreation. I mean, I think it's wonderful because that's another part of it. Because we're prisoners in our home, we don't get to actually enjoy our outer environment. But research suggests that getting outside and getting mobile really does help our mental state. So I really love your platform because I think it's
Thank you. Do you want to touch on that just a minute, Allie? And
Yeah. I only laugh because I'm just like, oh my gosh, my platform has become so much more than what I thought it was going to start as. And now I'm about to be jumping out of an airplane. But yeah, I was homeless a year ago, and that was a result of just the trickle down of housing situations that I had. What I was going into saying, and I totally even forgot, is I lived up a double flight of stairs, and it was straight up in downtown in my town, which is a very small town. But as soon as you open that glass door, it was a double flight of outdated, historically protected stairs. And so they didn't have to put an elevator in. And I lived in a small apartment, and eventually after I got COVID and I almost lost my life to one of my many conditions, we realized I needed to get a home, but that home was double what my apartment costs, and also not accessible, but it just didn't have a flight of stairs to get there. So, one after the other, eventually it was, okay, well now I need to live in a bus because that's more affordable. Me and my fiance lived in a bus for a while. And then it was living with a friend who needed help because of her parents passing, which was great. We were in a home, but it was downstairs in the basement, and then it just led to us being homeless. So we lived in a 1987 Toyota Dolphin that looked like it was straight out of Breaking Bad.
oh my gosh.
And it was honestly some of the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. I'm super blessed to have my fiance. He was able to help me. It was definitely not an accessible RV. But we landed ourselves in Southern California, and that's when things like really blew my mind. I think, again, so many people think California is this accessible, beautiful land, and unfortunately it's not. I love where I live, but once I made it down to Southern California and realized how much more access there was to adventure, right? You can call it what it is. We're talking adaptive sports. We're talking, good Lord, you can get in coffee shops where you can't get in coffee shops where I lived. It was just down to the little simple things, and realizing we had people who had this amazing passion for creating more DME, durable medical equipment for people with their 3D printers. And we've come so far in technology. We're in 2025.
Yeah.
We should have access to everything, and it's
Yep.
driving us nuts. And I think for a long time without social media, people like us, or just disabled people in general, didn't have a voice because we couldn't get out of our homes. I mean, right? A prison in your brain, a prison in your house, and you finally go, oh, I should have the confidence to get out. So I was invited to do adaptive softball, It's called Over the Line. And then right after that, a week later, I went to do adaptive surfing, which was really exciting for me because I hadn't been in the ocean in like 10 years since like my body was just deteriorating. So I got to do that. And then I realized very quickly that people just have this mindset around like what disability should look like. I stood up over my friend who's paralyzed from the chest down on the surfboard. So she was surfing. I went out and hopped on with her. And people were like, oh, see, she's standing. She's lying. She's not disabled at all. Well, you can't do that. I went, okay, there's much more need here for conversations around what it looks like and what that adaptation means. Because if people have these misconceptions about what disability looks like, they also have misconceptions about what accessibility looks like. So we need to have more of an integration in that. So yeah, I'm the crazy girl that goes from Santa Barbara to Seattle and back in my van with 6 lights on my dash and fingers crossed. And that was, I got home and then a week later I flew here. So I just, there's not much that'll stop me, and I just am so blessed to be here. And more than anything, I know we keep saying this, but I'm just so freaking grateful to have met all of these amazing women who, are doing what I'm doing in their own flavor, because you don't meet people who are willing to put your life literally on the line. That's not a joke for you, all you watching, like that's not a joke, just to, say, hey, we're here, we exist, and whether you want to or not, you're gonna pay attention.
Well, we are talking about those amazing women who are paying attention to each other and paying attention to just the community and building awareness. We're talking about Ms. Wheelchair America, presented by the Mary Free Bed Guild. I really want to go around the table quick and just hear, like, what is one of the big takeaways that you've had from this experience? Something you've learned or a relationship that you've formed. Kimberly, if you want to share. What's something you're taking away from this week so far?
The thing that I'm taking away the most is that I understand that collaboration is key. And all these women have wonderful platforms, and regardless of who wins, everyone deserves to win. But more importantly for me, I want to find a way to collaborate with everyone, because everyone's message is important. Everyone's message needs to be spread. Just like what Chief Lassay saying is, it's really important that we all take those small colonies, or those small portions of our state that are exemplifying what we need to work on. We need to go out, we need to knock on doors, we need to raise our voices to make sure that we're able to incite the change that we want to see around the nation. And it starts at home with us. And the more that we connect and keep working together, we can see the change that we want. We can make the change, and it won't take as long if we're all working together. So that's what I'm taking away from this. Collaboration is key. All these women are fascinating, phenomenal in their own rights. And I just know the class of 2026 is going to get the job done.
Yeah, I love
I'm
it.
just excited to see it happen.
Stacy, what about you?
Yeah, I guess what I would take home is that I knew coming into this we all have different platforms, but at the same time we're all fighting for the same access and abilities to do things as everybody else. And coming into this, I knew win or lose that I would meet amazing women that would give me knowledge and information that I needed to go forward and help the next person, the next advocate in my state, to develop things that help everybody in this nation.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are so well spoken on what you're saying. I feel like I don't even know how to add more to that without repeating myself, but I will say, like, just even out of the experience of getting crowned, like, first of all, I thought I was signing up for a newsletter, and here I am. I competed for Miss Wheelchair California. But like, no matter where you are in life, people say this, and sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other, but truly, no matter where you are in life, that is not your end goal. You have to understand that just because you're in the pits or you're at the worst point in your life, you don't need to, find meaning in your suffering. It's not necessary. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated, but turn that into fuel to create something better for yourself. And if not yourself, if you want to be an advocate and you want to get out there and be loud like we are, then do that. But I mean, truly, I used to wish, oh gosh, I want to be that person one day, or oh, I want to be in that position, or oh, I want that opportunity. People say like, oh, make it for yourself, but then they don't say how. Reach out to any one of us. Ask like that. Ask for help sentence is so frustrating because it's so vague, and I think a lot of us are like, well, what capacity do you have to help me? So I'm just saying it right now, and I'll speak for all of us because every single one of these women has already said this out loud this week, is that we want to be there for anyone and everyone who has a question, whether you are disabled, whether you are able-bodied, or you in somewhere in between on your spectrum. and you have a question, don't be afraid to ask that question. You know, welcome a no. We may have to say no. I don't know what kind of phrase of question do you guys
Yeah.
But just, you know, you're never gonna know unless you ask, and you're never gonna know unless you try and you get out there and you do it. You know, just start the process and, you know, figure the rest out as you go.
Yeah, because educational awareness begins with us. We are the best teachers about our situations, even though each situation is unique to us, but we can inform and educate everyone so that they have the understanding of our needs and possibly their needs in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know.
And then, you know, just the light on Miss, you know, Miss Wheelchair America. I mean, yes, this program's been running for 53 years.
Yeah.
I'm only the second advocate in the whole entirety of it. And,
Mhm.
you know, just
From
me
North
showing up.
North
here-
Dakota,
North
yeah.
Dakota.
Yeah.
Yes. And just showing up here, you know, I'm bringing light to North Dakota as a whole and Minnesota, which I'm a close neighbor of, that we need these advocates to come from every state and represent because we are all fighting as one.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. We've been talking to Kimberly Butler, Ms. Wheelchair, Mississippi, Stacy Johnson, Ms. Wheelchair, North Dakota, and Allie, Ms. Wheelchair, California, where thank you so much for all being here today. We are talking about Ms. Wheelchair America, presented by the Mary Free Bed Guild. It's been happening August 18th to 24th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You can learn more by watching the speech night happening Friday, August 22nd. That's tomorrow. At 7:30 p.m. You can watch it here on the Mary Free Bed Facebook page, and you can catch that speech night, and then you can catch the crowning gala on Saturday, August 23rd, right here again on Facebook too. So thank you so much for watching, and stay well.